everyone, and thank you for joining us today. NAMIC Virginia and WIC Virginia are very appreciative of you spending time with us today. WIC Virginia is committed to its mission of developing women leaders through professional development opportunities to advance the position and influence of women through their programs at the national and local level. NAMIC Virginia is committed to its mission to educate, advocate, and empower for multi-ethnic diversity in the communications industry to ensure our industry reflects our world. This discussion today merges the two missions together as we get ready for an intimate discussion amongst authors for Author Talk, Your Words, Your Story. Tiffany Adams, Program Chair for WIC Virginia, is brand new to the role in 2020. Tiffany has 2 kids, lives in Virginia Beach, and has spent the last 16 years in telecommunications in various leadership roles within supply chain operations and planning, with specific emphasis on engineering. Tiffany currently works for Add-On Networks, the largest independent global supplier of optical connectivity solutions out of Tustin, California. Tiffany, take it away and introduce our moderator.
Hey everybody, how are you guys doing today? We're so happy that you're here with us. I'm going to introduce Shinese Collins, which most of you all know because Shinese plays a significant part in most of our day-to-day lives, as well as many of the groups that we are all a part of. Shinese is the WIC Virginia chapter president and author of Resilient on Purpose. Shinese is the product marketing strategy manager for Cox Communications. During her 20+ years in the telecommunications industry, Shinese has acquired extensive communication, relationship building, leadership, planning, presentation, coaching, and development expertise. She is, like I said, the president of WIC Virginia Chapter Board. She is also on the board for NAMIC Virginia. Accordingly, to further share her expertise within the area, she authored a book in 2016 entitled Resilient on Purpose, which we'll be talking about today. She was recognized as a woman to watch by A&E in their 2019 She Reports, which is so awesome. Shinese has been featured, she's been a featured keynote speaker for women associations, including Women in Cable Telecommunications, religious organizations, and networking marketers. To complement her work experience, she has earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Norfolk State University. She has received a Master's of Business Administration degree from Everett University in Danville, and a Master's of Art degree from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. She's also a certified Six Sigma Green Belt, a certified product manager, and a certified life coach. Shinese is a graduate of Class 50 of the WIC Rising Leaders program as well. Shinese is married and has a daughter. She enjoys spending time with her family, working with her sorority in the community, and doing ministry with her church. Her passion is to guide women to remove self-imposed boundaries and become the high achievers they were designed to be. And as most of you do know, Shinese, you can all say that she is awesome. So we're so excited that she is going to share this time with us today and talk about and moderate this event. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tiffany. It's always interesting when you hear your own bio. I don't like writing bios. I like to just say, here's Shinese and just let's go, but I always comply with the organizations that I'm working with and I supply what they request. So now I get the pleasure of introducing to some of you and presenting to those who already know her, Devin, who was formerly an employee of Cox Communications, where she and I worked together quite a bit over the years. So Devin has moved on to Georgia, and she is a graduate of Regent University. She has a master's in organizational leadership, and she minored in human resource management. She was in the telecom industry for over 20 years, and she pretty much feels that she's been called to be a shepherd and to integrate her passion to develop others in each role and task that she has been assigned. She's a servant leader who has leveraged those skills in helping associations such as Women in Cable, the Diversity and Inclusion and Black Employee Resource Group, and also NAMIC. She manages currently a network operations department for Chick-fil-A, and I know we're all familiar with Chick-fil-A. So thanks, Devin, for managing their IT so we can keep on getting our meals. She is an entrepreneur and a new author. That's why we're talking to her today. And as of this summer, she founded DC Consulting 7, which is an LLC firm where she focuses on career and marriage counseling. Devin is married to a retired Navy veteran, Daryl Kroom, and they have 5 children. Together, they minister to 4 couples in their church, and Devin loves traveling, reading, fellowship with her friends and family. And I'll just give you her quote. God must be first in everything you do. I pray my trials and tribulations become your inspiration and your motivation. So let's talk to Devin. How are you today, Devin?
I am wonderful. Thank you for going over my bio. I agree. Sometimes it feels awkward to hear a lot about yourself, but
it does.
It's but I'm doing
like, well. You think, is that me? Is that really me? I don't think that's me. So we're going to break the ice with a simple question first, and I'll even answer it myself first and then ask you. So when I originally wrote my book, and I'll show both of the books on screen. So this is Devin's book, and this is my book. When I originally wrote my book about 4 years ago, I actually did not intend to write a book. I was journaling because it was therapeutic. I was going through a lot of things in my life, and just to get it out, especially while in grief counseling, I was instructed, write your feelings out. So as I was journaling, there were times when stuff was pretty tough and I didn't even want to write. So I would go back and read my journal entries. And then one day it was almost like a light bulb went off, and it said to me, if you have encouraged yourself by reading the things that you have already journaled about, maybe you need to share that with someone else. So that's how the book came to fruition. I did not set out to be an author. Some people just know that that's what they want to do, but that was not the case for me. So what motivated you to become an author?
That's a good question, Shanice. For me, it was more family and friends encouraged me to write my books. Being a survivor of so many trials and tribulations, being violated at a young age, of surviving an abusive relationship, a COVID survivor, all those type of trials and tribulations, and for me to walk around and still smile, and for me to continue to look at life as if, I'm still on the incline. A lot of people said, Devin, you have to share your story. You have to put it in a book. So that's what motivated me.
Good to hear that you wanted to share. I will admit, initially, when I published my book, I didn't tell a lot of people. I told my, inner circle, and then people started to find out, and I wanted to flee because that meant now they were going to know a lot of personal things about me that I had not shared. So you actually wrote because of that and wanting to share that. So that's interesting to hear. Mm-hmm. Now, being that we may have aspiring authors that are present on the Zoom today, can you walk us through the process of developing a novel? The planning, brainstorming, publishing, etc. How was that process for you?
One thing I do want to say I shared with you as well is I journaled a lot of my highs and lows, and a lot of time it was a reflecting moment for me to say, hey, if I've conquered this, I can actually get over that. So when it got to the point where I was considering putting it in a book, I networked with a lot of other existing authors. I did my own research based on my budget to see an editor and a publisher, what works best for me. And in my research, there are some editors or publisher will try to change your story. And I was very particular on wanting my story to be the way I have written it because it's, again, my experience. And after doing my research, I landed with one specific editor who pretty much gave me the do's and don'ts and told me all the ins and outs, and I ended up getting it published on Amazon. So it was over probably about a 3-month process because I wanted to not move as quickly. I wanted to make sure I had the right fit, the right team that would be able to articulate my message well.
I had a similar experience. I reached out, tried to get information on different publishing companies, different publishers, small ones, medium-sized ones. And yeah, you have to have, you know, Oprah and Tyler Perry money and Brene Brown if you want to publish with a publishing company. And that comes with a sizable contract, some significant deadlines. And then, you know, they do, in many instances, as you said, have the option to edit the way you state something. And then that can change what you were actually trying to say about something. So I agree. Self-publishing definitely allows you, especially if it's a personal story, to keep things the way that you intended them to come across. So I would encourage anyone, if you are looking to publish, you don't have to go through a publisher. You can certainly go through, Amazon had Create Space at the time. I'm not sure if that's still what they have, but they do still have self-publishing options. There are Kindle, you know, other areas where you can do that seamlessly. And you can work with a few freelance folks who can format the book for you if you need someone to, you know, give you graphics for a cover, all those different things. There are plenty of freelance folks out there who will not charge you an arm or a leg, and this can come to fruition if this is a dream that you have.
That's true. And it determines, as far as the space, how much space you're going to need, if you want to include pictures, right, where you want to put the pictures, the size, your verbiage, if you want to have a different chapters. There's a lot of details that go involved with it, but it's, you know, once you get your mindset, it's just a matter of getting the right team and you can get it done. It's not hard.
So similarly, both of us used personal experiences. So when you were writing and organizing your thoughts, drawing the information from your journal, did you use, besides just using your personal experience, how did you incorporate people around you? Did you ask their permission? Did you just include them? Did you warn them up front? Like, how did that part work out for you?
That's a good question. What I was very cautious because my children will be reading this book. And I also want to be mindful of not painting a bad impression for my existing family members that are still living. So I was very mindful of how I wrote it. And I wrote it a very simple read for platforms such as this, for us to have more dialogue in regards to how I did it, and me assist others to walk through life on how to overcome their trials and tribulation as well. So I did have a conversation with some friends and family, indicating it, and I specifically didn't put certain names because I didn't want it to come any type of legal issues, but at the same time, I wanted to give my message out. So one of the things that I would encourage any up and coming author to just be mindful of, that it is wise to do some interviews to get the ins and out and permission, especially if you're going to share videos or pictures. But it's wise to converse, but you know, there are some friends and family you may not stay in contact with, so you may not have that opportunity. So you want to weigh what's best and take it from there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I know some of the personal stuff I shared did deal with some folks in my family, and I did speak with them prior to the book being published, and also sent copies of the book to them directly so that they could read it for themselves and not hear what someone else had to say, but read it for themselves. And, you know, I shared, I felt, in a tasteful way, because, you know, there's a way that you can share something in your raw emotion and it doesn't come out as tasteful. So being tasteful and tactful when you're sharing definitely can prevent you from damaging relationships, especially if you're working or writing from a personal perspective. So that was a good choice there. Now, with the different relationships you touched on in your book, like your grandmother, who else could you say had a huge impact in a positive manner, and also in a not so positive manner in your life?
It's a good question. It may sound weird, Shanice, but those that showed me in life, I call them my village, and I shared it in my book, which is my mom, my grandmother, basically adults that were around me as I was coming up. They gave me what they had, right? They gave me the best that they could, provided the best that they could for me coming up. I take what they gave me and I interpret it on how I can change that trajectory. And one of the things I can say, although there was some substance abuse, there was some emotional trauma, some was dealt with, some was not, that was negative, right? But the positive behind it, I look at it as this is where a benchmark of what my family could do. So now what can I do for my children moving forward? And also creating those candid conversations with family members that may not have done the best that they could, but just as an adult, learn from them and come up with ways on how you can get better in your relationship now as an adult. So I took the positive and good from those that my village that helped me as I, which helped me come to the woman that I am today.
I actually remember you saying that on the Facebook Live you did last week or the week before. Time just kind of goes, quickly, but it is interesting that you're able to walk in a way that you're forgiving of the fact that they gave what they had, because oftentimes, as a child, you can see things a certain way. You can hold a grudge about something because they should have done better, or they shoulda, coulda, woulda, all of that. But for you to have the perspective that they gave what they could, what they had, what they knew, is really good, because not everyone can do that. So I applaud you for having that attitude, and it does definitely help with you not internalizing and carrying a lot of stuff with you because you are blaming someone for something. So I definitely wanted to mention that I commend you on that.
Thank you.
Now, did you ever consider writing in a pseudo name so that people didn't know it was you? I thought about it for a hot minute, but I didn't.
I actually considered getting a ghostwriter at one point because before reading the book, Brene Brown, where it specifies how your vulnerability is your strength. And I was ashamed at one point, having a humble beginnings, acknowledging how substance abuse was one of the ways that my family managed stress. I had so many negatives and no's in front of me. Statistics shows that I should have been that exact way, if not worse. So yeah, I considered, and then it got to the point, well, who else can tell my story than myself, right? Who else, what better example can I be for someone that's actually going through the same trials and tribulation, or that's trying to overcome it? What better person that I can be a resource to them if I can willingly say, be upfront and share with the world, yeah, been there, done that, and got a t-shirt, right? And willing to help them, and showing my vulnerability has actually been one of my many strengths. So to answer your question, at first I thought of it, but I'm glad I decided to go the route I did.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And then I said, well, how am I going to help if I'm not sharing that it's from me? Because we both know, as being leaders throughout our careers, people watch you when you don't know they're watching you. So when you're able to share, like you said, vulnerable, that's not my space. I like to, keep things at bay, and this is the me you see at work, and that's that. But I've learned over the years that it's only one you, and that's you, the personal, professional, the church, the everything. It's really only one you. And by sharing those experiences, there are still people today who I come across that tell me, I went and I applied for that job that I wasn't going to apply for after reading your book, or I reconciled my relationship with my sister after reading your book. So when you hear those types of things, then that makes you feel good, and you're glad that you didn't write under a different name or have someone else try to tell your story, because as you said, your story is your story, my story is my story, and we all have a story to tell. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to write a book. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to all of a sudden have a movie about their life, but you can tell your stories just in little everyday interactions with people to encourage them, to motivate them to do other things, especially if you're in a leadership role, and even in a peer-to-peer situation. Sharing your story can be very impactful. So it's important to do so no matter what method you choose to do it. We just happen to choose writing, and here we are today. And if someone told me 4 years ago I would be sitting here talking about being an author with another author who supported me tremendously when my book came out. That was my road warrior. She would be selling books with me, taking pictures, all kind of stuff. So I appreciate your help over the years, and wish that I was close to you, that I can help you and pay back. So I feel like moderating and talking to you today is kind of like my payback, so to speak.
Oh, Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think it's great to be authentic. There's no better way just to be yourself. It doesn't matter whether you're at work or in church or you're interacting with friends, family, and outside of, socializing. I think being authentic, you can have an influence. As leaders, you're right. There's no clock out time, right? In addition to your children, there's always someone that's following or watching your every step. So you definitely got to be mindful of that. So, but yes, I remember those days in Richmond. I'm so proud.
And I appreciate it. So, what do you hope readers will take away after reading your book?
A lot. I shared a lot. I pray that they don't allow strongholds to stop their future. I pray that they look at me as a living testimony. And if I was able to survive, they can do it as well. Having that overcomer resilience, pushing through. The low time is how you build, is how your character is built. And one of the many things I want so many people to know is that humble beginnings and the way you started does not define how you're going to end.
Now, that is extremely true. As you know from reading my book, I grew up in the projects in New York City. So, as you say, people define what they feel your life is going to be based on, well, you were born here and this is exactly what's going to happen. Your parents were this, or, you were born into this situation. And like you said, that doesn't define who you end up becoming. And we all have a purpose. So whatever that purpose is, whether it sprouted out of the concrete of a New York City project tenement or it sprouted out of Newport News, your destiny is your destiny, and you will eventually get to it. It's just, you go on a journey along the way to get there. We don't always go the straight path. We definitely go windy roads and zigzags and make a few pit stops and U-turns, but it's your journey. It's just what it is.
Well said.
So you spoke about development, and I know that that's very important to you with the years that you and I worked together. What tools do you find impactful for your personal and professional development?
For me, therapy. A lot of people feel that therapy is taboo. Those that are working, your job typically have some type of benefit where you can get a therapist. Most medical companies have that part of their plan. One of the helpful resources was for me. So Shanice, to your point, how can I now not hold grudges against my family members? How can I walk with my head held high? Things that those a lot of different trials and tribulation. I didn't even tap on everything with the book, but therapy was definitely a great resource for me. The other thing was just being able to talk out my pain, articulate my message in a way that I'm letting the person know who offended me or hurt me, let them know that, hey, this is how I feel and what can we do to solution? How can we work better? How can we improve our relationship? So being able to express and not hold things in. And as you guys will read in my book, my father had a whole lot of unforgiveness towards his dad. And unfortunately, he was sick and passed and never really healed. So I hope that everyone see that unforgiveness can lead to sickness. So I will respond that way. What are your thoughts?
No, I totally agree with that. Therapy, yes. I know it's taboo, and I'll be as candid as saying it's definitely taboo in the African American culture. That we keep our business at home and it's our business and we don't talk about our stuff in the street. However, having attended grief counseling and therapy at some point in my life, I feel that it helped me to not be stuck in something, and that's the key thing. Oftentimes we get stuck in something and we don't know how to get out, and that's why there are professional people who can give you the tools or ask you the right questions to pull those things out of you. So definitely I see therapy as a great option, or counseling or anything of that nature. Both of us have worked for Cox, and we have programs such as the EAP where you can get those tools through your benefits. So I would recommend to anyone who's in a rough spot and they just are stuck and don't really know what else to do, is no shame in getting help, because it'll help push you and propel you to the next thing and keep you from being stuck in something for years and years and years where you're just spiraling in a circle, and you could have gotten past it had you just used the tools that are out there available to us. So I totally agree with that. Now, professionally, I would say both of us have benefited from organizations like WIC, NAMIC, serving on ERGs that are our companies, even outside entities. With my sorority, I'm president of that chapter as well. So I just keep challenging myself, but just getting involved. You can be developed in just about any situation. I feel even when you're not the one leading it or the facilitator, if you're just in the presence of some people who are not necessarily like-minded, because you get more growth from the people who don't think like you. So stop always aligning yourself with people who look like you and think like you, because it keeps you just thinking the same way and not seeing that there are other ways or other opportunities. So I challenge anybody out there, if you're looking for a way to develop and you want mentoring, maybe don't pick a mentor that looks like you. Maybe don't pick a mentor who's in your department or in your company. Maybe consider someone outside of your company, or if you're a woman, maybe select a man, or someone of another race or ethnicity. You'd be surprised at how rewarding that can be when you're open to another perspective.
Absolutely. And I can also say my church resources was a great resource for me as well. The elders, counseling, things of that such. So to your point, all of those platforms that you and I both participated on, those are great supports for those that, may need those help in those areas. But definitely take advantage of all those resources, because it will help.
Yeah, agreed. All right, I have a couple more questions, and then we will get Q&A from the audience out there.
Sure.
Now, you've mentioned this word several times today, unforgiveness, and that was a big theme in your book. And it's funny because I had a chapter in my book as well about forgiveness. But what advice would you share with someone who's struggling to forgive a family member, spouse, coworker, what have you? What advice would you give them?
Forgiving that person is not so much giving power to them, it's you regaining your power. It is more of a mental freedom for yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, unforgiveness can lead to sickness. So with those three things in mind, unforgiveness can have a domino effect. So you have to choose. Do you want to move on and live life, or do you want to crawl up under a rock and just, woe is me for the rest of your life? And you can't change the past, but you definitely are in control of your future.
Very true. And I had similar feelings and thoughts as well. And the other part of it is, when you don't forgive someone else, then you're giving the power to them. A lot of times the person doesn't even know that you have an issue or you felt some type of way about something that happened, because we tend to get angry about something and we never address the issue head on. So if you don't go and communicate with that person, then they don't even know that they wronged you, and they're kind of going about their life with no issues, and you're just stewing in something that they don't even know exists. So you've given away some power to them that they don't even know they have over you.
Absolutely.
So last question from our list, and then we will see what our folks out there have for you or I. So what drives you to overcome adversity in your life?
My children and breaking generational curse. Those are my two drivers in regards to pushing through when it comes to those adversities. I am the North Star. I am the mentor. I am the leader that my children look up to. I actually have an expectation set on me by God for him to be, his light to shine through me, and for me to impact in a positive way those that are assigned to my life. And one of the things I have to always do is be mindful of my words, my actions, and what I do, and always representing a spirit of excellence in everything that I do. So that will be my answer.
Well said. For me, I believe it's affirmations are big for me. Positive affirmations, ones that I've either read in a book or a favorite go-to scripture, or even ones that I've written for myself to motivate me or to inspire me when I'm feeling, kind of blue or down about something. That and prayer. You mentioned church, and that's a very big part of my life. So I would say prayer definitely helped overcoming adversity. And then always having at least one person that I felt like no matter what I said, they didn't look at me any differently when I unleashed whatever it was I was feeling. Like it was a safe place and I wasn't going to be judged afterwards because I felt a certain kind of way. So having at least one person I could share a lot of my feelings with helped a lot as well.
Yeah, I call them your truth tellers. I read that. Your truth tellers, those that will be able to give you the feedback that you need. And like you said, don't place judgment, but they got your back regardless, and they're with you highs and lows. So I agree, having that go-to person that you can refer to help you through those. So
yeah. All right, you ready for the questions from the audience?
Absolutely.
Okay, so has your book created any negative experiences or reactions from those mentioned in your book?
Yes, I had a few relatives, those that are distant. I think sometimes when you have trauma that hasn't been dealt with, you have a tendency to see life through one perspective and not seeing it from a holistic perspective, not seeing it from a person that's trying to heal and grow. And we mentioned it earlier, in our history as African Americans, we have a tendency to say, what goes in my house stays in my house. So you don't share what happened. Well, I allow my trials and tribulations to be an inspiration to people. So I want to be authentic and help someone else because someone helped me, and that's my way of giving back.
Yeah, I would agree. I had a few folks who had some comments about they didn't see it that way, and I was like, yeah, but this is my truth. So this is the way I see it, and they were entitled to feel the way they felt. However, we agreed to disagree, and we're still fine. So no harm done. At least I don't think. Next question: what does humble beginnings mean?
Ooh, I can define that all day long. The typical day for me would be, I would say, a family who was okay with having a welfare check, a family that was taking a family that has benefited from the services that's provided for family that's having that's considered low income. A lot of trials and tribulation, not a lot of positivity, not a lot of talks about, growing professionally, not a lot of talks about owning property. Financial literacy was not a conversation. Me, myself, and I, and all you see is just the four walls and not thinking life is bigger than what it is. Just humble beginnings where your resources are very limited. Medical resources are very limited, and you can see from my book, once you read it, there's a lot of details you can see, and you can equate and see it from my experience, my definition of humble beginning.
I think we answered this question slightly, but it has a different spin. It's similar to the last question that I asked. However, looking at it from the vein of motivation. So what kept you motivated to continue when you felt discouraged?
Ooh, it depends on what phase, because I went through the valley. My children is what kept me going. I realized if I didn't make it out, it was going to be hard for them. If I didn't push through, think about you know, what I experienced growing up, did I want that to be the same experience for my children? So to answer that question, my children is what kept me going.
So, are you considering writing another book? And if so, do you know what it'll be about if your plans are yes?
Yes, I plan on writing another book. It would be based on relationships. So as you all will learn, I got remarried and found my soulmate. And I can say from my experience, there's a lot of highs and lows I've learned from relationship compromises that I know that would benefit a lot of couples or engaged couples. So my next book will be regarding relationships, healthy relationships.
All right, so here's a fun question. I can't wait to hear your answer. I know what mine is. If there was a film made about your book, who would you cast in the leading role?
Oh my goodness. Can I be the one who be in my own movie?
It's yours.
I would be I would be the number one actor.
So starring you, your story starring you.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know, for some reason, I think I would take, what's her name, Sanaa Lathan. I would have her be me. You know, I could watch Love and Basketball every day. So for some reason, I'm just drawn to her. So that would be my go-to. So Devin, what is your relationship with your brother?
I have two. It's a good relationship. Now I'm in Georgia, so the distance and the whole COVID thing has really put a damper on our family gatherings. So I strive to do like a FaceTime on Facebook. So we all do like a video conference call just to chat. So yeah, I'm the oldest of four, so two brothers and a sister.
Okay. So do you have any suggestions on how to encourage those who are reluctant to do counseling to seek help or seek the help that they need?
You have to have a made up mind that you no longer want to keep feeling the way you're feeling. You have to have a made up mind of saying, you know, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you get to that point, there's no question of you would need influence from someone else to say, should you go and get help? You will say, you know, there's no other option. I encourage you to find a support system, whether it's a friend. Believe it or not, some people have therapeutic with their dogs or cats. Talk it out, not to hold it in. But when you feel yourself going in a spiral where mental illness is kicking in, as far as depression, you feeling that you're going to put heart, harm, or danger to yourself, I definitely would, suggest that you speak to a doctor and take advantage of the referral from there to get to someone that's licensed and someone can help you. Because I'm all about giving solutions to resolve the situation, not a band-aid and pacify the situation, because it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, I totally agree. The other thing I would add is sometimes, especially those people who are involved in any type of church setting, sometimes talking to the leader of the church can give you some comfort, but they can also recommend some other persons to talk to who are licensed to handle whatever the need is. So sometimes just talking to, the preacher or the pastor or even maybe the head deacon or whoever of the church, sometimes they can at least break down the barrier of you sharing and then recommend another source for you.
And one other thing I would add, it depends on your situation. If you're having relationship issues and you're married, it's good to get advice from a single friend, but my best advice is to talk to another happy married couple. Because a lot of times if one person's perspective is going in a down spiral, that person would take you along with it. If you're in an abusive relationship and you're not sure where to go to or who to talk to, you got to be able to show signs to someone, whether it's writing a note, sending a text. And there's so many different organizations locally that you can actually send a text to that can help you get out those abusive relationships. So depending on what you're going through, you definitely got to find that outlet that can help you bring you out that rut.
So, who's your favorite author or authors and why?
I like Carl Weber. Carl Weber has like the writings and how he keeps the audience engaged. I love how he does that. And he talks about things that I grew up with, right? Talks about, you know, there's some exciting backgrounds about, you know, there's, trying to think of the book, the most recent one, I think it's called The Family Business. It's on, I don't know if it's, is it BET?
It was BET, yes.
I think it was BET. So I like that type of drama, I should say. And also, as far as another book, I'm all about leadership. So John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors as well.
Okay. I think right now my hot go-tos are Brene Brown and a little bit of Valerie Burton.
Yeah, Brene Brown, she's in my rotation of books as well.
Yeah, they give a lot of good perspective to help you stop beating yourself up so much and you know, just kind of let it flow, but they give you a little pathway to go to it. So I appreciate their writings. So after writing the book, was there anything, you know, that you had hindsight you wish you had or had not included?
I'm sorry, should I say that last part again?
Anything in hindsight you wish you had or had not included in the book after you wrote it?
No.
No?
I prayed about it. The way I wrote it is exactly how I wanted to. I can say in the very, very beginning, I was very raw and very detailed. And I had to factor in the repercussions of how my children may have viewed me. They know the truth. They know all the details. So I was mindful of how I wrote the book, and you'll see when you do read it. But the way it's written, I wrote it that way for a reason.
All right, so this is a good one, and it can apply to both of us. How do you deal with a negative mother?
Ooh. A lot of grace, a lot of patience, and sometimes you gotta get to the point where you can give her a taste of her own medicine. And I say that in a very loose way, meaning if your mother is constantly downing you with words that's dampening your spirit, not motivating you, you got to say, hey, this is how it's impacting me, and I won't tolerate this anymore. Challenging her in that way. Prayer is what got me through it. And I can say that having those type of conversations with your parents, sometimes the roles are reversed. You now the adult, and that person is now the child. So sometimes you got to teach them how you want to be treated.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of deep breaths help me, knowing when not to answer the phone and knowing when not to answer certain questions. You know, sometimes you get that question where you know it's a hot button, so we're not even going to discuss it, and we're going to keep the conversation positive and light, and so we just don't even get into those areas. So I'm leaving this one to you. What is one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Ooh, one piece?
Yeah, they asked for one.
You are enough.
You are enough.
I would say you are enough. I went through a phase where I felt abandoned. I felt I wasn't enough. And to hear those words, it's amazing how words, as you stated earlier about words of affirmation, it can be an energy, it can be a superpower. It can really boost a person's, not only their confidence, but that energy for them to just keep going. So I would say to my younger self that I am enough.
That's good advice. Good advice. So, let me see how I word this. Your book was a good read, which touched the surface of many topics, not as in depth. Would your future book about relationships dive deeper, building stories of actual scenarios and experiences?
Yes, that would be my goal. And that will be a relationship that I experienced with the permissions of my previous relationship, and what majority is going to be with my husband. So he's going to support it. So yes, it'd be very detailed.
Oh yeah.
Any specifics anyone is looking to get, any advice, anything anyone is willing to learn more about me. One thing, there's several ways you can reach out to me. I have my website is www.devincroom.com. On Facebook is at Coach Devin, and on Instagram it is Coach Devin Croom. So reach out to me and we can talk more details. And again, I wrote the book in a way that I want to be able to create additional conversations and platforms such as this. So being mindful and out of respectful for my family members, I didn't go too specifics, but you know, having a dialogue just one-on-one so I can be a blessing and a motivation, inspiration to anyone, reach out to me on those platforms.
Yes, stay connected. I just happened to be on Facebook at the right time that day when she went live talking about her book. And since you're sharing, I'll share as well. I have been doing these live segments on Wednesdays at 7 on my @Coach Shinese page, and it is a dose of resilience with Shinese Collins. So that's been a lot of fun, sharing some tidbits on resilience, and I've been posting a lot more on Instagram than I have over the previous months, just trying to make sure that people, especially during these times, resilience is huge. And I had someone reach out to me and say, you know, you should be yelling your book from the rafters because it's so necessary for a time as this. And you know, I was thinking, hey, I wrote that book 4 years ago. If they didn't find it by now, they're probably not going to find it. And they're like, no, you need to talk about it. So I was kind of pushed to start sharing more and getting in that space. I think we may have 2 more questions. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, yep, here we go. How has your book shaped your career?
It has created atmosphere, a trusting atmosphere for those to come to me about any highs and lows. And as you all know, if you have a lot of things going on at home, sometimes that can impact how you perform at work. So it has created more of an open door policy, I should say, between me and coworkers, peers, and friends and family. They've already known they can reach and contact me.
So we have one last question, and it's, you tackle this one, okay?
Yeah.
How do you teach someone or engage someone who repeatedly does not listen?
You talking about the kids or the
It just
adults?
says someone. So you can answer from whatever way you want.
From a general standpoint, I think I like the 3 rule, right? First time, a person that may not know any better. The second time, hey, just so you know you did it again, here's the ramification of you doing this. The third time is, hey, we talked twice. This is no longer ignorance thing or you didn't know. It's either 1, time to end a relationship, or 2, it's time for, you know, performance improvement plans to help if it's a performance issue. So that would be my thought process.
Okay. Well, before I kick it off to Tony, just want to say these last words for folks to remember about Devin and her book, Abused But Not Broken. So if you didn't take away anything else from today, you should remember the purpose behind this book was not to allow strongholds to keep you bound. It was to be an inspiration that you can overcome anything and you are enough. Okay, Tony?
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes.
All right. First off, outstanding webinar, especially from Shinese Collins and Devin Croom. We greatly appreciate you taking us through this amazing discussion. We do have 4 lucky winners that were chosen from a raffle that we did at the beginning. And those winners are Cleano Robb, Lisa Owens, Randy Morgart, and Vega McMurray. We will be contacting you to get your addresses to send you a book from Shanice and Devin. So thank you for joining the call. Thank you to our NAMIC Virginia members, our WIC members, and all attendees for joining us this afternoon. Please join us for our upcoming events. We have Paint Night, the Art of Diversity with NAMIC Carolinas on September 18th, and that is from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Also, we have our wellness series, Meditation Monday, on September 21st, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And also, stay tuned for the upcoming WIC VA Hidden Figures Virtual Movie Club dates to be announced soon. For more information about NAMIC Virginia, please visit our website or follow us on our social media platforms. And we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Everyone, please have a great afternoon. Enjoy your rest of your day. And we hope to see you at future NAMIC and WIC events. Thank you.